Hi, Wolfgang. What I recognized the last time is if we translate your first name to English, is actually pretty cool. You recognize that?
Yes, it's Wolfgang.
Yeah, Wolf is the wolf, and gang is how it walks, right?
Yeah,
The
maybe.
the walk of a wolf. This is actually you recognize
Yeah,
that?
I know that, but it came from the 900s before Christi and from Austria, and it was a religious person in Austria. Yeah, that was something. If you look into where it comes from,
Hmm.
and I did this long years ago, and my mother is from Austria, so
Okay.
that was something related.
Yeah, but still, I think even further back, the name means something in German, and I think that this wolf is probably from wolf, right? From the wolf. You don't think
Mm,
so?
I don't know exactly if this is it's so easy to
But
combine.
I expected you know, to say it is really the case. It is a cool name, and it means how the wolf walks.
Works or work?
Walks and works even better probably in your case, right? So
Uh,
you told me the last time you are working as a Java. What is your official title? Sorry, I forgot it. It is something with Java team, right?
yeah, official title it's GraalSC,
Mm-hmm.
sales consultant,
Mm-hmm.
but in Europe we put it to systems engineering. Yeah, and my role is for Java SE and for
Mm-hmm.
GraalVM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I had.
in the
Mm-hmm.
worldwide Java team.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember the old Sun Tech days?
Yes.
Yeah, they were in Frankfurt, and I met James Gosling there. I don't know, it was probably 12 years ago, and he told me that there is a project Maxwell. You know what project Maxwell was?
Yeah, it was a former project, but
Yeah,
yeah, I never was in touch with that.
yeah, and I wrote a blog post about project Maxwell probably 14 years ago because I was really into it, and there was from Sun Labs, and the project Maxwell was, and the story was I wrote the blog post, and then the project somehow disappeared. And what it was the attempt to write a Java virtual machine in Java.
Yeah.
And then the project was renamed to Maxine, and I didn't knew that.
Maxine
Yeah, and
is
and
is something before
yeah,
our
Graal,
GraalVM.
and I
Yeah.
asked many people, do you know Maxwell? What happened with Maxwell? And the first person who answered the question was in the previous podcast was Thomas Wörtinger.
Thomas Wörtinger.
He knew
Yeah.
about that, so they renamed the
Yeah.
Maxwell to Maxine, and then I lost the track,
Yeah.
and then Maxine became GraalVM with
Yeah.
interesting
Right.
background. So what it means is this Graal stuff started at Suntimes already, so it is actually a pretty old project, but I would say probably the most interesting and impactful project in 2019 and 2020, if you ask me for a couple of reasons, right? So
Yeah.
the obvious reason is the how to call it transpilation from Java to native, which is I would say interesting and useful, but yeah, or I would say for marketing very good, for serverless very good, and it saves RAM and whatever. But the hidden gem I would say is the interoperability of different languages, right? So what you can do with GraalVM, you get extremely compatible JavaScript runtime. And why I tell you extremely compatible, as GraalVM came out, I installed that and I did something wrong with the and forgot about that. And what I did is I set GraalVM in the path. So and the impact was I used Graal without knowing it as a replacement for Node.js. So all
Oh,
my JavaScript projects run on Graal for I think 1 year at least, and it worked perfectly. But in one point of time, I had to upgrade Node.js, and I just look, at the versions like Graal, why it runs on Graal, and then I recognize without knowing it that actually all my back then it was probably React or Angular or whatever was ran actually on GraalVM without any issues, and and this is remarkable. And the next thing is what you can do, you can combine Java and JavaScript in GraalVM. So there is actually an API where you can write a Java program and call JavaScript and vice versa. And now the crazy thing is, and then you can compile the whole thing to native code. So what I do a lot with GraalVM, I create my own, command line utilities and small tools where I can just write one single binary, put it to the path, and this is a nice replacement for me, instead of using Python or whatever shell scripts, I can now use Java. So this is amazing, I would say. So, and now you are the GraalVM guy. So are you also in touch with this, or rather boring, I would say, obvious, serverless use cases?
No, I'm in touch with the whole thing. And I've did that stuff for almost past 18 months or 2 years from now. Yeah. And so that was the idea, to keep up with that technology. And I was always in touch with the labs guys from at that time for years ago, as it called the Maxine project. And I was in touch with some of the engineering people for a long time there for Exchange. And therefore, it was really for me to use it for stuff 2 years ago. And that was the idea, to keep up with the technology because of the Polyglot features. And therefore I have written an article in the Java magazine, and it was amazing. So many people, they liked it. I had much more impressions on Twitter than the print edition was there 3 times more, and that was a blast in January this year for Java magazine. And that's it's something really which seems to be likable by most technology people. And so far, others didn't get this stuff because they're too far away. What does it mean to combine, as you mentioned before, multiple languages in one virtual machine? And even if you compile that as a native executable, a native image, which is able to execute on its own, that's very impressive. And the first time, I think Thomas Wörtinger mentioned this many times as well in your podcast episode 78, and he put in all that stuff what people like, and the polyglot stuff is something which is really impressive, because if you think about many development teams for web, for fat client UIs, for server-side, different languages. So you have many teams, and don't forget the mobile stuff with Objective-C and the Android stuff. So you have different experts, and always have a different look and feel for the outside business. Just don't lose your customers. And that is a really promising approach by Graal, that you combine all that stuff, that you have a single runtime, in the future. It needs to be proven, but on the side, you look what you mentioned with JavaScript, you have the interpreter, and with R, with Ruby, and C, C++ on the low-level VM, but on the native side with the Java language, with directly combined on JVM languages like Java, Scala, Kotlin, you have a direct connection. And the best part is it's written in Java. So you have no breaks internally with debugging, finding problems, errors, something in code with debugging. You have one language, and that's something which is really, I think, the most popular feature. But the native image people really like, because it's very, very promising for the combination of microservice frameworks in the future, like you did with Quarkus.io, or guys with Micronaut, and of course with Helidon. And that's a blast for low latency and immediate startup time caused by that. And that's by an improvement by 100. And the memory consumption, it's very, very good.
Yeah,
and this is something we can't really use with a full-blown JVM. It's impossible.
Yeah. Regarding the RAM, so I tested several times. It is like it is amazing. So if you build the Hello World micro-profile application, it will I think it will take 10 megs of RAM in total. I mean, looking outside, if you go to the activity monitor, right, to the process explorer, you will see in total 10 megs of consumption. On JVM, the same thing, already optimized on Helidon or Quarkus, would take around 80. So this is 80 megs, at least, right? And this is not the heap. This is the total process. So I see that. But Polyglot, I really hate the term. So I know I heard the Polyglot sessions at conferences for years, and they say, okay, use the right tool for the job. And what the developers then think is that every developer should choose different language and everything becomes cool. But from my perspective, is not unmanageable. So something like this is just crazy. And the reason for that is, if you think about why NodeJS is there, is because the JavaScript developers didn't like to have Java on the backend. They wanted to have full stack JavaScript. But I would call it like pragmatic polyglot. So, and I think this is we do it for years. For instance, the most funkiest example is this is one of the reasons I was actually allowed to talk at Java one the very first time. The first talk ever accepted from me is as I hacked my hitting from to improve the algorithms. And the problem with that with Java was back then that I had to tune the algorithms all the time. So because you never do it right, in case the sun shines, I wanted, to power off the main heating and lots of tweaks. And with Java, I had to recompile and redeploy the whole thing. And I built it with the proof of concept of Java EE5. So there was the EJB packages were even wrong, This was a very early Java EE5 with JBoss back then. And I said, okay, what to do? And what I did is I used it was JSR 223, so the scripting extension of Java, or a step before. So I'm not sure whether JDK 1.6 was available back then, but the point was I was able to bind in Groovy to load on demand my algorithm without redeploying the application. And I stole the idea from my hitting. This was 2006. I did it multiple times in various enterprise projects where we misuse Groovy to have fluid algorithms. For instance, validations, we are able to load the Groovy script from a database and to have I would say very pragmatic and robust actually reason way to redeploy changing algorithms. And we did the same with NAS1, Java 8. So it's okay. We don't need Groovy and then NAS1, and with NAS1 was even step forward. So what we could do actually, we had an interface and we implemented the interface with JavaScript. And now is even the step further. Now we have two possibilities now with Graal. First, the startup of Graal is incredibly fast. Yeah. So what you can do right now, what you couldn't do before, we could, instead of loading JavaScript into JVM, we could actually encapsulate we can write the fluid algorithm in as a small nano service, let's say, just an interface like serverless function, let's say, right? So you have a command pattern, and because it starts in 10 milliseconds, I don't have to reload, the JavaScript over and over again. I could just replace the GraalVM and the next call. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I can have a rolling update. So this was the first. So even without Polyglot, it is fast enough that I can replace the entire algorithm between the calls, because I don't have to wait until it starts. And with Kubernetes and whatever is absolutely possible. And the next thing is, of course, what I can do. I can now combine Java with JavaScript and load it remotely. And the cool thing with JavaScript is it is very compatible JavaScript. As I actually asked Thomas Wöttinger, and it's like, yeah, we have a team which really cares about the syntax, but the syntax is incredible. So we have ES6 modules, so this cutting edge JavaScript, what I actually do in my JavaScript projects. So you can use ES6 modules, which looks like Java. So that's actually the next step forward. So this is incredible. So I would say in process polyglot. This could be then the next term. Not that, one developer develops Python and the other one Java. Yeah. And what we have right now is in-process polyglot, actually. So we have to coin the term, in the next conference, in-process polyglot. We will share the revenue, the 100 euros what we get for the session. So we split and then drink a coffee afterwards.
Yeah, I'm good for a coffee.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, that's exactly the point. If the language arena is fragmented, and that what I meant with my example before, and you mentioned it in one process. The thing is, there is a transition from many languages, and you can go to the Adobe ranking of the TIOBE index for the program languages, and so if you see projects in the top 100, that's weird. In the top 25, it's even challenging. In the top 10, you always had to do with C, C++, Java, mostly Java is on the first place there, but you can't really took away developers' passion on their language, and most developers knowing more than 10 languages or even more. And that's not the case. The fragmentation comes from the programs on the project sides. And if in that case, it will take some years to harmonize this to maybe 2 or 3 languages. And with no doubt, JavaScript is something each child learn this immediately. But you have several breaks on it. And with the GraalVM, you can put this in the first step together. And if this really is compiled in one step in a running process, that would be, or in threads you can distribute, that would be perfect in the future. But the first step was there just to change something in the HotSpot VM, the C2 compiler, written in Java, which was before written in C++. And that took years. I think Thomas Wöttinger told this many times, how he need to benchmark his performance and showing to people internally inside Oracle. And it's something which is really hard. And I had a fun story which fits here. After the acquisition of BEA, we had JRocket with the JVM. Markus Hert, Markus Lagergren written this with the team, and with Virtual Appeal, the company BA bought, and then I sit together at a Java One meeting, and where the people was showing JRocket. And I told to my neighbor, which was John Rose, there's a good idea to combine both JVMs. And he lost any view with his face. It was just frozen. He's a very, very good guy, and he was thinking about that immediately, and he was shocked. Because he did the step from the client and server JVM at Sun years ago, and that was painful, and he had always thought about the corners 10 years ago ahead. So 10 years ahead, how will this be compatible and don't break? And so he was shocked. He was shocked for a minute. He can't say anything. And then he told about some things, how to merge JVMs. And it ends up with the management capability and the capability of the Java flight recorder with Java mission control. And so it was separated and some good things added, but not at the core. Though it was clear, and the people don't want to defend things, but they knew it's very, very stable, and we should never forget that HotSpot is one of the maturest things you can't really break it at these times. I so-called over-engineered the HotSpot VM, but you have all the stuff you can build things around. So Graal had to compete from 8 years ago from that, and on the compiler interface abstraction level, with the JVM CI, this was the initial university study work, which made it possible to exchange C2. But it's very hard for years for the whole team to really show the performance and to get accepted by other people, engineering managers, who are responsible for that. And that was a long way, a hard way, and one of the best, Thomas Wertinger, did this perfect with the whole team. And that road is not reached their goal now. It's just there. But if we on that level, and here comes the polyglot passion of each developer, if these people really like the machinery with GraalVM under these, they would extend these kind of things and would use it. But it's a long road trip that might developers get rid of their loved programming language. I don't think so. And that's the part where you embrace other languages without excluding people. But in the next step, if people really see the benefit of one language, which has a purpose on mobile or for any kind of purpose, that would take a lot of time. Because people need to take the code and to execute it and to see the results. And it's a longer trip than people expected from if they just watch a polyglot feature. Oh yeah, it is. Native image, here it is. You can use it anywhere. It's not the case. You need to proper look at your requirements, and then often used by proof of concepts. Is this really working as expected?
I'll give you another example where it was useful to me. Is I have so from time to time, I was 4 times a year. Now it's probably 2 times a year. Workshops at Munich Airport, and the problem with the workshops is there's I have probably already 20 different workshops, and I think what would be the next interesting thing, and I just announced the workshop. But I had to set the dates and the time in I think 4 or 5 different places in the form, on the page, and so forth. And I say without content management system, it's going to be problematic. And I could of course use JSF or JSPs, but it's why to use server? I just need static pages. And then I look at JBake. There is a Java project. So, okay, it's nice, but it's a little bit over-engineered for my purposes. And what I did then, I knew from JavaScript, there were libraries like handlebars or mustache. This is basically like JSPs, but this is a little bit data binding. So you can pass JSON to the library, and you can just have for loops, and you can take the variables and do some stuff with it. So it's very much like JSPs without JSPs. So I said, okay. So what I will do is convention of a configuration, one JSON file, then this HTML, which is template, the same name, they will be loaded to a Java program. And into Java program, I will load the handlebars or mustache, which is perfectly, documented, and I will not reinvent the wheel. And then we'll use Java again to write, the result. And this is now fully automated. So you have one place with a small JSON object, which is read with Java. So I use the Java NIO to read conveniently the files and so forth. I use it for years. And now I can even use GraalVM to create a single binary. And now it's the cool story, right? Because I have a desktop machine, I can put it in path and just use my command line to start the process. So this is very convenient. Now it can say, okay, this is your fiddling at home. We did exactly the same in some startups to generate invoices. The problem with invoices is, you need to know a proper look and feel. You need to know the whole templating. And what we use is we use Mustache, GraalVM with Java to have the whole layout. And because Mustache on handlebars comes, from the HTML world, we can use hire whatever designer we have, and the designer can just design the invoice or the template because it's just stock syntax. So I would say this is the cases where you can save weeks or even months in real world projects, and something like invoice, contracts, and all the templating. This is the small corner cases. So I don't even think big, like say we need a Polyglot to solve something, or what I think what will happen one point of time, that we get some R statistics or module or calculation we have to include. Then I can just say, okay, give me your Graal R function and just use it from Graal. So very pragmatic small cases where you can save tons of time.
And there's a lot of involvement with fast R, which is on GitHub, but it's on an experimental level. So what you mentioned, the whole team in Oracle Labs about Graal is working on mapping the language syntax which should be interpreted, and they are well trained and experienced on that. So they really know for different languages how to do it, as you mentioned before, with a high sophisticated JavaScript. And these mapping internally, this is very, very interesting, and this could be done for any language. And at the end, it will be more and more optimized. So it don't have any reasons about concerns for performance. You really just get what you want, and it's still interpreted. And that's really the difference on that. And for all the other stuff, I really guess that if you have one language and can debug your whole programs and your whole program, your whole project set with Java developers, for instance, it makes it very easy. If you then in a real world project have different languages included, it could be harder. And even what we saw with DSLs or what other companies did, I think the Goldman Sachs a specific language they implemented on Truffle on their own, and they gave it for free for years. It was I think about more than 1 million lines of code. How many lines of code, and they really put in a whole team to work on that. And this is of course like an experiment, but if I remember projects where domain-specific languages are written, how many people are there, and just retrieving executables out of this or changing business code, it had some benefits on the business side, but it had drawback on the physical layout to optimize it. Sometimes you won't get that what you need to write to get it in a proper performance. And that reminds me to the case tools, where you have a pseudocode, and you always need to have a physical model, a data model, a data layer, and where you optimize this, what the outcome is. And if this is done inside an executable VM, that would be a major step forward, because the transformation from the abstraction level from this language comes down to the physical layout, where the performance result is okay. that is a major step in one machine. And even if this is in one process or something, or in as many threads you want to proceed with the performance and the capacity on your hardware, that would be very promising. And I think there are a lot of good stuff. I really don't know in that detail, like the lab guys, what they would like to work on.
Are you aware? Are you aware of WebAssembly?
Yeah, that's something which comes in the end of last year to Graal, and the idea of this visionary stuff is to embrace more and more.
Yeah, but in the chat with Thomas said they are working on it, and what WebAssembly is, you can run basically bytecode directly in browser. So and there are already lots of use cases. But what you could do in GraalVM, you can write Java code, then transpile it to WebAssembly and run it in a browser. Now you can ask me now, what is the purpose of that? But what is the use case? But there were, for instance, at the Airports Munich, some developers with Swing apps, and they wanted to migrate to web. And you can migrate one-to-one to web components, more or less. The problem is they had custom, like hashing or signing algorithms they had to use because they were certified or whatever, and they were written in C. And what you can do then is, of course, you can cross-compile C to WebAssembly. But you could also cross-compile then Java algorithms to WebAssembly as well, and then invoke it from JavaScript. So what you could do with that, you could create, responsive user interfaces where the heavy stuff is written in Java, which is easier to debug and to develop. And Java is then cross-compiled to WebAssembly and runs in a thread in a browser. And then you can write around this functionality a web components with JavaScript ES6 and communicate with that. So this would be the first very interesting use case on the horizon. So because writing in a WebAssembly is a really pain right now. So you need custom compilers with Rust or whatever, and Java is Java. I mean, we have just looking at the TIOBE index, Java is number 1, and this is C is the number 2, and Python number 3. And but the gap between C and Python is 6%, and Java and C are almost the same popularity. And JavaScript is number 7, which is surprising to me. But there's another index on GitHub where Java and JavaScript share, or C. I would say Java, C, JavaScript are the most interesting one. What's on TIOBE right now also interesting is there were the Scalas and all the languages just disappeared. So the first 20 languages are more or less reasonable right now. So we have Java, C, Python, C++, C#, Visual Basic, JavaScript, PHP, SQL, R, Swift, Go, Ruby, Assembly, PLS, SQL, Perl, Objective-C, MATLAB, Classic, Visual Basic, and Scratch, which is surprising number 20, Scratch for kids. So it's a good thing, Scratch by Junior. But I remember the TIOBE index last year, there were lots of esoteric languages, but right now it looks like, I would say, reasonable. It became reasonable. And Java is going incredibly strong, which is a very good thing, right?
Right. And there are always evolving languages behind. We saw this at the JVM Language Summit year by year in Santa Clara. And so the WebAssembly stuff, I think, to come back to that, as a low-level code format which needs to be could be exchanged. That is something to embrace the web browser, of course. But we would like to see more use cases on that. And it's still, as far as I know, on a visionary state now. So it's something where you have in mind it's experimental. And it's on the roadmap, and there are a lot of things coming with Graal, and there were announcements, I guess, in January it was. But anyway, this is something to to strengthen the whole ecosystem
Yeah.
and embracing all the interpreted languages. And the same stuff. Many people are waiting for fast R on the interpreted level, but it's still, for early adopters, it's experimental.
And there's another very interesting, I would say, synergy, and this is between GraalVM and JavaFX. So before Graal, I would say JavaFX is would have a really hard time to be adopted, because you need Java, and Java is not available everywhere. And with GraalVM, you can run GraalVM on iOS, on Android, and you get a extremely fast execution environment. And this extremely fast is really important, because on mobile devices you need responsiveness. So if this is lagging, you will lose. But if it's fast, it works. So now, and JavaFX. If you go to JavaFX and search for JavaFX, you will find it is extremely well maintained platform. So JavaFX 14 came out in March. So it is very on par, I would say, with JDK 14, and the work is incredible. Less by Oracle, I would say, more by Johan Voss and Gluon. That team.
Yeah.
But this is incredible team, and I have to say I underestimated the productivity of Gluon and Johan Voss. So I thought they will try as an enthusiast and fanboy, but it will never fly. But Johan is incredible. It just and the problem with JavaFX is not the I would say the widgets. The problem is to maintain the platform, because everyone can write a widget. It's not a big deal. So this is like CSS compatible. So it is very easy. It's really simple to write a JavaFX controller component, but maintain a stable platform. This is a big deal, and you need to know You need a good knowledge about CPU architectures, operating systems, and GPUs and whatever. And this is what the Gluon and Oracle they have, and they cooperate on it. But now comes the cool thing. So what you can do is, if you have the GraalVM as a platform, you can run JavaFX on it. So you can ask me, what's the deal? And now I had already the chat with Johan, and Johan didn't like, my opinion about web components and JavaScript, because I'm very pro web standards and JavaScript. So I do lots of JavaScript in the front end, and it works well. But this is not the competitor of JavaFX. Sometimes web components are not enough, or web standards. So you need to know the direct link to the hardware. So enterprise features, or you need to know a really great app. And what web developers are doing right now is they're not using React or Angular anymore in such cases. They are using React Native or Ionic or something different. And the problem with this approach is usually what they do is they run Cordova or browser-like environment. And the Cordova has, for instance, this browser-like environment has access to the device. And with JavaScript, you have access. You can access an API, which is no more a web API. It's a proprietary API, but you get buttons, text, whatever, and they get translated through the Cordova or middle layer to the device. So with JavaFX, it's different, because with the GraalVM, there is no browser in between. They have the native access to the native widgets, and this is crazy fast. So I would say this is a widely underestimated killer feature of JavaFX, and this should really take off, because you can right now write native apps as it was. So the same. I like Swing as well. The same simplicity as Swing, and run it on a mobile device and ship it to the App Store. That's the thing. This is not like a hack where something is loaded or reloaded or whatever. And with that, what you could even do is you could even write parts of that with JavaScript, for instance, and have hot reload. This is what the React guys and the Angular guys or Ionic guys are proud of, that they can reload the application. We can do the same with GraalVM. And now we have millions of Swing developers who could actually write native applications on mobile devices and desktop. So the cool story is we have, I think, unique story in Java where you can really write once and run it on Android, iOS, and desktop, the same app.
Right.
And this is, I would say, this is what we should emphasize in JavaFX. And I also had a chat with Johan in my podcast, and he tried, to compete with the web apps. The web apps, I mean, you shouldn't compete, because if it is simple, no one will create something and ship it to the App Store. And
no.
But you would just build it with JavaScript, and you don't even need Angular or React. Just use the web standard and you are set. But in one project, I got asked, can we access the scanner of the device? So they wanted to use, the camera to scan barcodes. So and this becomes a little bit harder with plain JavaScript, to reliably access the camera. But with Gluon, what they have, I think I forgot the name. They expose the native APIs. Gluon Link, I think, is the name, where they expose the native device directly. So I have a Java API. I can access that, for instance, from JavaFX. Okay.
Yeah.
And now the craziest story ever. What you could even do right now is you can create a JavaFX app on a mobile device, and they come with the web view, right? And in the web view in JavaFX, you can even load a web app which interacts with the device. So we can have an hybrid, which is part web standards, part Java, with complete access to the device. And I think, I hope I will see more of such kinds of applications, because this would be right now, this is kick-ass, This is not like you can very easily with our tools, with NetBeans IntelliJ, and if you really have to use Eclipse, with Eclipse would also work, right?
Right, it worked. Yeah.
I'm just kidding about Eclipse. So, but
FX Clips,
FX Clips, exactly. And we have the scene builder, which was always great, and so you can prototype on a desktop and then ship it natively to device. And I think this is a really big deal, right?
Right, and a lot of stuff you discussed, and for JavaFX, it's not anymore to compete against the web. It's accepted where each one resides.
Yeah.
And I guess for JavaFX it's 5%, and we had a lot of customers there, and with great applications from construction, from healthcare, from surgical doctors, and sharing the pictures in high density. The automotive industry. So I took care about the past 7 years about JavaFX, and always having a conference or embedded in a conference. We did this on the JAX conference, on WJAX, and on several other conferences. And since the past 2 years, I convinced Dirk Lemmermann that he was the front man for the JFX days, and then you name the city. So the first 2 times it was 2018 and 2019 in Zurich, and they called JFX days Zurich. And this year we will have this, hopefully. The setup is done, but caused by the corona crisis, there could be any surprise, of course. And the JFX Days Munich 2020 will scheduled to the last week of November or something there. Yeah. So there are a lot of people attending this, but it's a niche. For the pure fat client UI desktop application, and lots in government. We had a project where we built everything from scratch with a UI builder, and if you watch the application, the UI, you think, oh, it is something from Microsoft or is it from Google? You never will think about it's JavaFX, and there's a generator, and this was part of the German Department of Justice, and they showed it 2.5 years earlier, and it was very, very good. And the main work was done from Tom Schindel and his team, and that was really amazing what we did in that project. And so, but we never compete with the web. And the missing part was that what Johan Voss added, and I work closely with him. he put on Gluon Mobile, and he put the substrate VM from Graal in an own implementation for his stuff, and he can provide proper applications, apps on Android and on iOS. And if you think about in a project on the Department of Justice where we compile Java, where we have one single point of control with CSS, with changing anything, and putting that into the UI builder, and someone who needs to assign this, he just push a button on the UI builder. He didn't involved in that deep level stuff, and we can change this on one side on a single central part. And now this comes along with mobile. If you can embrace and extend this to mobile smartphone devices, it would be really a step forward, a major step forward, because you get rid of many different exotic language work you need in your business, like maybe Deutsche Bank did for the online banking, on all the platforms, different teams, and that's very promising if you have a reliable set of tooling. And we had last year in Zurich the State of the Union for JavaFX, and I was tied with Kevin Rushford, who did the engineering at Oracle for the next 3 years, and Johan did all the stuff since JDK 11, where we separated JavaFX, and so it should now JavaFX 11.07. It's still on on the website 11.06, but yesterday we had the latest security patch for JDK 14.01, and the same for an update for Java 8 and JDK 11 as well.
Why is Oracle still interested in JavaFX?
There's a lot of change happened in the organization 2.5 years ago. I don't go into any details, and anything related to Java was on the benchmark to take a look on that, and the organization is embracing everything from the development side. So Java, the whole team is in one organization, and this is in combination with the Oracle Labs and the GraalVM team. So every organization belongs to one line, and they work in line, and that say so, and that was a different behavior in the past. Where you just more on a product side, and just developing something which is ready, and how does this fit to others? And that was sorted and realigned, and very, very good positioned, that all the engineering colleagues are doing comprehensive work, and we are in a large team which can use the benefits itself, and that's the first step. Otherwise, you can't get it on the road, if people can't combine it in any way. Like you mentioned many examples today, how you would combine technology. Even developers didn't thought about the first time that would be possible to do with that.
So what I wanted to ask you is that Oracle is still invest in JavaFX, which is surprising, because the Kevin is from Oracle. And he just contributes to JavaFX still.
Right. There is a client roadmap, and Kevin Rushford is still there in place for the support, and this is, as you can see, support until March 2020. 2022. But on the other side, if you support JDK8, which get extended support until 2030, JDK8 the next 10 years. And at that time, with JDK8, JavaFX was bundled. So you can't deny that on the outside that we don't care about it. And Swing was slightly deprecated in 2008. So 13 years later, it's still there, and we have many people working still in the support. And if you think about the whole organization, I don't name any numbers now, which I could, but I'm not allowed
you shouldn't.
to. I shouldn't. And so some people are really taking care about Swing, and it's very clear if you anything is separated in modules with the JMods, and after with JDK 9, and so the desktop module, you can just get rid of this, but you have applications that you need to support this, and the whole group of the JCP must agree to that. So for me, it's a long time there, and it remains there with Swing. And we saw many projects with thousands of windows and window managers, and it's amazing. And they never migrated something. And that's a different problem. But we saw really promising stuff with JavaFX, and not on the niche against web. It's not against, it's with the web.
Exactly.
And on the mobile stuff, you can do much more. And this was possible with Graal. So Graal and the Fed client and the JavaFX UI, that could be a good chance to come again to very, very small pieces, like you mentioned, with apps on a store somewhere.
And mobile is the future, so I think it surpasses the desktop. So I would say over 50%. We have to look up the statistics. Probably the mobile use is like 70 or 80%, and 20% desktop. And very concrete use case. Apple announced the new iPads with LiDAR support, where you can have a radar-like. You can measure the range. Until this will be included in the web standards, first it have to be available on Android and everywhere else. Then the browsers have to support that. And then you get a web API. It will take at least, I would say, if we at fastest 2 years, I would say, if not 5. But with JavaFX, Johan could expose it right now. I mean, he is a tinkerer, so this to expose such an API is not a big deal, and you can make this available in a month, and using web component standards web, and invoke via JavaFX and Substrate VM the native functionality. And the cool story is, if a company really would like to, I have already chatted with Johan at the podcast, they could even pay Johan and will expose it immediately. So this is complete different strategy. Actually, JavaFX could become the enable for cutting edge technology, So it was a complete different angle. So I would say this is funny because we were very lucky with the application servers that were very compatible with Docker. So in one point of time, it was the killer feature that they were separated. The war and the runtime were separated, and now we have this second interesting use case where when you combine JavaFX and GraalVM or Substrate VM, it becomes kick-ass platform on mobile devices, right? So this is like lucky accident. So we are really lucky it looks like planned, but it wasn't. It's just lucky accident.
Oh, it was hard work, and I really amazed by the work of Johan Voss, and his work really amazing. What ideas he bring into products, and so he's in good shape with Gluon and all his engineering colleagues. And he works on Gluon mobile very hard, and the transition was as people were aware. Oracle takes care about Java. Oh, there is a Java SE subscription. Oh, there are 1,000 engineers. They need to be paid. Oh, that's something we need to take care about. But no one was paying at that time for any other support. So the Gluon subscription was follow up on that. They had enough consulting work, and if each one from the enterprises pays just consulting companies, no one gives back code as a contribution to an open source setup, and that was a way people learned if they really like to support their environment, for instance with the Java SE subscription, and they go for the Gluon subscription for JavaFX, and this is something maybe not for any customer applicable, but for people really want to take care about if they find bugs and need someone without own engineering to take care about that. That's important. That they have someone who really stands in, and that was something I focused on to put all the worldwide developers for JavaFX to funnel these into their own subscriptions around JavaFX, and that's the reason why I'm taking care about that. Of course, with the combination of the GraalVM, but these are details on that. In that community, we have large enterprises really like to pay for the development work of smaller companies, of larger companies. They just want to get an assurance of that particular application, that they can ask someone and file bugs and get it done in a week or immediately. And that's something you don't need to wait for bug fixes.
And this is something important, which is even cost efficient. So I give you complete different examples. So I was in an example, a large German company where you use JSF from prime phases. And there were some, not bugs, they wanted to have some features, so some classes had to be exposed, were not exposed CSS classes. And they asked me, could you do this? So I guess I could, but I didn't wrote the components. It will take me days. Why we not pay, the prime phases company? They will fix it for you. And now the cool stuff is, it will remain in the product. If I do something for you, it is a branch. And my branch, and my branch has to be, has to be maintained over the years, which is neither cool for me nor for you. You will pay me for 1 year, but after 1 year, I actually will forget what I did, and that will be a disaster. And they did it, and what turned out, the yearly subscription was like, a few €100. It was actually nothing against this, what I would need, to understand the code base and extend it. And another example was BA. The old BA days, we had a subscription and we found a bug. So we got the source code from the weblogic.jar. We could, fix the bug. We sent it back to BA. And in the next few days, we were online. The bug was fixed. Without the subscription, it was a way harder. So I would say with subscription, you are always faster and you are more cost efficient. And the killer feature for enterprises is someone else fixes the bug for you, and the bug, the fix for the bug remains in the code base, in the product. It's not a branch. And this is not a branch. This is like, this is a cost saver. You can save orders of magnitude of money with that. So this is and this is what I don't never get. Why to run unsupported products? I say always, we have two choices. We will run, back then was Glassfish, let's say open source, or we can pay Sun, right? So if we run Glassfish open source, we found many, many bugs. So if we contribute the bugs back, so it only works if we are running on the bleeding edge. Back then we had Glassfish v3 and Glassfish v2. So if we run, the recent Glassfish v3 or v4, the bugs get fixed because all the engineers, I know, they are really happy that we are contributing to the master branch, right? But if we run, all the Glassfish in production, no one is interested in fixing the old bugs. So we'll have to pay the companies. So what I always tell the people, companies, either you dedicate developers' time, to care about that, open source, this is what you have to invest in, or you buy a subscription. But you cannot just, download open source from the internet and hope it will work forever. So this is like irresponsible behavior in my eyes.
Right, exactly. And then that's exactly the point. And if you, I see a lot of project teams, they building throwaway software.
Yeah.
The team is on the start with the newest framework, and you never get this team capability after 6 months. It's gone.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why we are far ahead with JavaFX, because we have guaranteed maintenance and guaranteed support for years, for almost a decade for Java 8. Yeah. Of course, if you freeze a release like 8 and can't move to 14, which you can, you can do both. You should always take a look on the future side, what it's available now, but you can always get this under support and the maintenance, and these throwaway projects you can't maintain. No one could, because the next people you find on the street, they will say, "Oh, we have a new framework yesterday, and we try this because we are capable of that." And that's something different. You can't plan with a proper enterprise business there.
Exactly.
And you mentioned this for years with the enterprise application servers, and now it's the same on a whole environment with the combination in that kind of architecture. If we really have the challenge on UI side, on server side, combined with one language, name it Java, or it could have some others in it, with GraalVM, there is the potential capability that we get proper results on that. And that wasn't the case in the past, because it was too fragmented, and sometimes a religious discussion about programming languages which don't give you any results in your projects. You have different groups in your team, and they don't work really together. So you can have experts for UI, for server side, for serverless, for functions you call the nano services, all that stuff. But if they don't work together and have at least a technology perspective, how this fits together, and then it needs to be supported. And after that, you choose different tooling. For instance, in your microservice architecture, you'd see, a lot of possibilities, but at the end, you have only the top 25 tooling set running on Kubernetes, on all that common stuff we did for years with Docker and the JVMs and then with Graal. But how would you get this supported for a long time? Maybe for 5 years, and now. But not for 2 months or 6 months.
You get Angular stability supported for half a year, which is good enough. Interesting. I'm performing an Angular code review right now, and this is 1 year old project, and they have I forgot several hundred security issues. Too high, moderate, and we have to. And the stuff with JavaScript, the people get it wrong. It's not necessarily the problem with the production code which ships to browser. The problem sits on developer machines, because in order to build a JavaScript framework, you need, no kidding, several thousand JavaScript files which contribute to the build process. If the build doesn't work, you cannot ship. So the danger is not in the browser. The problem is the build process. So this is my final words. So where people can find you, Wolfgang?
They can find me on Twitter. Wolf Look.
Yeah.
And
perfect. No, not Wolf Look, not Wolf Talk. Walk, right?
Right.
Perfect.
Just look.
Yeah.
No, that was the reason the name was given and used by something someone else.
Okay.
So I didn't spend much time. I just try several combinations, and that was the fastest I got in mind. And that's how it comes to that name.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you, and see you next time.
Thank you, Adam.